Welcome to the Hockey Writers Blackhawks Banter, a weekly show with our top Chicago Blackhawks writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from Chelsea Dagger to the Madhouse on Madison, our team covers everything that happens with the Hawks. So get comfortable, grab a beverage. It's time for some Blackhawks Banter. Blackhawks Banter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 77 of Blackhawks Banter presented by the Hockey Writers. It's the Kirby Dach episode, which is very fitting since I did not talk very favorably about him in the last episode. I feel kind of bad about it. I was a little hard on him, but it is the Kirby Dach episode. I'm your host for today, Brooke LoFurno, joined by my awesome colleague, Gail Kauchak. It's been about 2 weeks since the Blackhawks regular season ended, but we still have a lot to discuss, thankfully. So before we get into it, please make sure to follow me and Gail on Twitter. We're the most active on Twitter. You can find us there. And also be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss Blackhawks Banter that will be posted every Tuesday. Okay, let's get right into it. So we have to talk about Kyle Davidson because, like I said, it has been a couple weeks since the season ended, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I kind of miss it, but they were kind of bad at the same time. So it's good or a bad thing. But anyways, point is, there hasn't really been a lot of exit interviews, but Kyle Davidson has been the one that's probably been the most vocal. And he had some things to say recently about how he wants to view the offseason. I recently wrote an article on some of the comments that he made, but here are some other comments that he made, which I thought we had to discuss because they're kind of interesting. So first, we have to talk about the coaching changes. So we talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago, where that Kyle Davidson fired the head or the assistant coaches, Mark Crawford and Rob Cookson. But the point is, he said that those moves do not influence their decision about Derek King one way or the other. He's still in consideration for the head coaching job. But he said for the head coaching job, he's looking for someone who is who has great communication skills and holds players accountable. Those are the two things he's looking for. So do you think those are things that Coach King embodies? Do you think that's a good way to describe him? Is he kind of hinting at King maybe by this statement or not? What do you think?
Yeah, I do. I think that King relates to the players really well, and I think that they respond to him. He's been in Rockford for a long time, so he understands what it's like to develop young players. And, he's got the respect of the veterans as well. I think that they kind of look to him because he actually played in the league. He had 14 pretty successful years. So the sticking point with King is that everybody says he doesn't have enough coaching experience to really get the team to the playoffs or make it to the playoffs or know what to do in the playoffs and beyond to get them that championship. I guess that's a valid point, but let's face it, the Blackhawks aren't there and they're not going to be there for a while. So I think that it would behoove them to keep King in the fold, whether it's as a head coach or as an assistant coach. Who knows? Maybe he's not that guy to get him to the playoffs, but maybe he is. If he gets a couple years under his belt with this rebuild, you never know. And I know that, the big name Barry Trotz is out there. Today he got fired from the Islanders, but who knows if Barry Trotz wants to come to Chicago and all that. So I'm still in King's corner.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? When I think about Derek King, to be honest, what I just thought about while you were talking was that every coach has to start somewhere. I mean, Quenneville started once, as a coach without playoff experience. Barry Trotz did. I mean, every respectable head coach has started there. So, I mean, at this point, I do think because King is still in consideration, it means that I think he'll probably be back. Otherwise, I think they would have just fired him on the spot. And I don't mind it because of where the team is right now. Like you said, they're not really going anywhere for a while. Once they're ready to compete, I'm okay with them switching things up. But I'm okay actually with him being an assistant coach too. I think he's had a good influence on the team for sure. So I'm okay with him sticking around, I think, for now. I was kind of going back and forth on it, but I think I'm okay with it. And I do think that he is describing him, actually. I think he's done pretty well with accountability this season. He didn't just scratch Strome. He didn't single people out. He scratched Khrushchev and Reese Johnson and Mackenzie Entwistle, even if we didn't always agree with it, but he did hold people accountable. So I'll give him that. So So yeah, we're in King's Corner. I like that. That should be a hashtag, King's Corner. I like that.
I know, and I just came off the top of my head.
Yeah. Or that could be a bar in the United Center to give free drinks after a win or something like that. I like that idea. It's a good marketing strategy. Okay, so the next thing we have to talk about, this is what I really wanted to get into, about what Kyle Davidson said in his interview. So he talked about how he will manage the salary cap, obviously, and he said something kind of interesting. He mentioned that they are very unlikely to sign long-term deals over the summer, long-term contracts, which stood out to me because when he was first interviewed after he was hired, he said he wasn't against long-term contracts like Seth Jones's. Although, granted, this is for over the summer. Doesn't mean it'll never happen, but for this summer especially. But it makes it interesting because Alex DeBrincat is due for an extension in July. He still has 1 year left on his contract, so it's not imminent, but he is eligible for an extension. So does this concern you about DeBrincat? Because I know fans are kind of eager to get something done.
No, I think that Davidson is just trying to keep the flexibility out there and really figure out what he's got to work with before he makes any huge commitments beyond the commitments that Bowman has already made to, Seth Jones and I think who else? Murphy signed for another 4 or 5 years, McCabe. So getting back to DeBrincat, like you said, he still has 2 years left on his contract. I don't think either one of them is really concerned. DeBrincat himself even said, management's got a lot of things on their plate right now. I think that he might want to play out next year. He can be one of the stars. He can be part of the core. He can see if he really wants to stay here and commit to the rebuild. So that gives him some flexibility as well. So no, I'm really not too concerned. I don't think anyone of them, either party, is too concerned either.
Yeah, I don't think it's very concerning either. Like I said, I know fans are probably eager to get it done, but I also was looking at their cap space, and right now they only have $1,000 in cap space. I know that will trade over the summer, but unless we want to give them an extension for $1,000, I don't see that happening. But I don't think it's a worry as much. They'll probably work, I think, this summer to make cap space for next season to kind of fill that void. But it does also make it interesting because so many people are up for extensions, like Dylan Strome and Kurashev and Kubalik. Like, where does this lead them? Unless, like I said, they want to sign for $1,000 or 1 year deals. I don't know, but it is a little interesting. I'm going to be surprised how he handles that. I'm going to guess a lot of trades will be involved, though, to move salary here. That will be kind of the kicker, I think. And I'm sorry to the fans if we are kind of going back and forth between the names King and Davidson, if we're kind of like interchangeably saying that confusingly. Sorry, I mean Davidson when I'm talking about this, not King. My bad if I said that before. Okay, so now we're done with that one. We're going to talk about player grades now because Gail, you recently wrote, you kicked things off for our off-season grades with our forward grades this season, which is really great, guys. Check it out. It covers every forward that we've ever seen this season, and it's great. And she put so much work into it, and I love it. Okay, we're gonna keep going. Okay, so there are 2 players that you graded, obviously, but they're probably players that fans are most opinionated when it comes to grading them. So I thought we would take the time to shed some light on the grades and opinions kind of on these players' grades, kind of shed some light for the fans that had questions. So the first one is Reese Johnson. So tell us about your grade analysis on him.
Yeah. Okay. So I gave Reese Johnson a B+. And I think I did get a lot of comments actually in the comments section about this saying, oh, why did you grade him so high? He's just a non-important 4th line center, blah, blah, blah. Well, you want to know what? You need depth players. And I think that Reese Johnson knows how to play that role. He's a center, so he's got that flexibility, to move around in the lineup. And he dealt with some adversity this season. He broke his right clavicle mid-December, and he didn't return until late March. And maybe that's why people don't really know of him or is established. But he finished off the season strong as a mainstay on that 4th line. He never moved up a whole lot, maybe the 3rd line here and there for a spin. But he knows his role, and they inked him for a 2-year contract extension. It's cheap. I just think that he'll be a nice, good insurance policy for the start of next season. And I think for what he is assigned to do, a B+ is a good mark for him.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. I understand some fans' frustration with him that he's not a goal scorer and the team needs goal scoring. That was a frustration I had with him too, a little bit. But we also have to understand where players' skill set lies. If he was getting paid to score like DeBrincat and wasn't scoring, then that would be a different conversation. But he's not paid to score. I think even what Davidson said when he signed him is we signed him for his competitiveness and his toughness, which is a fourth line role. So in that sense, he is doing what he's getting paid to do. Although, like I said, I know it's frustrating that he's not a star and the Hawks need changes there. But you know what? For right now, it works. And like you said, he knows his role. He knows he's not Alex DeBrincat on the fourth line. But like I said, that's not what he's paid to do. So I understand where you're going with that grade. I would have went probably B minus, a little lower maybe. Okay. But yeah, I think we're both in agreement though in the B area. He does his role well. And you know what, like I said, I know it's not flashy, but it is effective on the fourth line. And that was probably a bright spot towards the end there, was the fourth line actually, surprisingly.
That's perfectly said. Not flashy, but he gets the job done, so.
Yeah, not flashy, but it works. That's what I kind of like. I like things like that. Just not flashy, but effective. Players like that, I should say. Okay, so the next one that obviously fans have a lot of thoughts on, including myself, is Kirby Dach. So tell us what your thoughts were on that.
This is the one that was the most controversial. I gave Dach a C, so right there, smack dab in the middle. And I had people saying, what the heck are you thinking? He's a D or an F. So I understand where everybody's coming from. This is the season that he was supposed to put it all together. We've been waiting for Dach to put it together. But let's remember, you guys, he's only 21. His rookie year, he missed training camp due to a concussion, and he was arguably thrust into the NHL too soon. He missed most of the second season with wrist surgery, right? This is where, but he's supposed to, but I think he's still developing. And I think everybody says, oh, he's been given enough time, but I feel he's still, I'm going to err on the side of caution and feel like, it takes everybody a little bit different time to work on their development. And I just think that the Blackhawks, with the way that they've handled him, have really stunted his development. And perhaps now with Davidson and the coaching and Coach King, and they've really kind of understand this, they're going to get him right back on the right track. And that's what I'm really hoping for. So, and he didn't do horrible. He had 9 goals, 17 assists. He showed flashes of really good stuff, being really strong on the puck. So that's why I gave him that C.
Yeah. Like I said, I was tough on him last week. I said a lot of things about him that I wasn't impressed about his play. And like I said, I like him personally. He seems like a really nice, humble guy who plays hard. My issue was, like I said, I just wasn't impressed the way I thought. I think a lot of fans felt that way, just very underwhelmed in a lot of ways because he had issues. I mean, he couldn't score and he couldn't win a faceoff, but that doesn't mean he never will be able to, kind of thing. Like you said, it was a trying year. It was really his first full year, to be honest with you, I think, since he got drafted. So will be like a really big summer for him. Next year, if we're still talking about the same thing next year, then we might have a different conversation. But I'm willing to, I want him to come back better than he did. And I'm sure he'd be the first one to tell you that too, that he wants to come back better next year. So like I said, he is 21. If he was 28, again, different discussion. But like I said, I'm willing to give him time. And I think Hawks fans should too. Like I said, give him next season. That's all we're asking for. Just give him some time next season. Let him have a good off season. Hopefully that works out for him. And, every player goes through these. Alex DeBrincat did. He came back pretty well. So like I said, just hope it works out for him. But like I said, it was a tough year. And I probably would have given him a D+, to be honest. But I don't mind the C grade at all, though, because I understand where you're coming from. But like I said, it's okay. It's okay. We can have different opinions.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, it is.
And it's true that everybody was disappointed with this season and did expect more of him. So I get where people are coming from.
Yeah, it is. It's tough for sure, especially because where he was drafted. And I know there's a lot of pressure on him too, and on management too, for that matter. Davidson has to keep answering for this. And like you said, but he's young. So we'll see how that works out. Like I said, we hope for the best with him. So that brings us into more exciting topics, other than players, obviously, that we can't really talk about anymore because the season's over. And like I said, which is kind of upsetting, but also kind of relieving at the same time. But the Rockford IceHogs, who is the Blackhawks affiliate team, is in the playoffs. And the exciting thing is that they swept the Texas Stars to advance to the division semifinals, which is really exciting. They've won more playoff games than the Blackhawks have in the last couple of years, and that's exciting. We finally got playoff wins. And that to me is exciting, and it's happy, and that's what we've been craving. A playoff win, I don't care where it comes from, just a playoff win. So we have to talk about some of the prospects that have been shining in Rockford. One is goalie Arvid Soderblom. He had a shutout in game 2, but he also only let in 1 goal in game 1. So basically 1 goal in 2 games, which is amazing for him. And I think he faced like 36 shots in his shutout, sealed the team the sweep. How are you feeling about his progress?
Yeah, I think it's awesome, right? And having a hot goaltender in the playoffs is just phenomenal, and this is great. And he appears to really be hot right now. I'm excited for this best of 5 series that's coming up with the Wolves. And I think that it'll be excellent for Soderblom's development, which he seems to be on a really awesome trajectory with that development. So who knows what the game plan is? I don't think he's really the guy in Blackhawks crease next year, but maybe it's sooner than we all thought. Who knows? It's kind of hard to say. But one more thing I'd like to say is that the IceHogs actually went 8-3-1. I wanted to look this up to kind of see against the Wolves. They went 8-3-1 against the Wolves during the regular season. So they have a pretty good chance of winning this series. It should be fun to try to catch some of it.
Do you know what? A lot of it does come down to hot goaltending in the playoffs. It comes down to a hot team and a hot goalie. And the Hogs were on a pretty good winning streak before then. That's the other thing. You want to come in hot. So they came in hot on a lot of cylinders, even though they're maybe not the deepest team. But sometimes that's all you need. But I'm actually happy for Soderblom. I know we saw him a couple times this season with the Blackhawks. Wasn't really impressive, but wasn't very horrible either, if that makes sense. It was just kind of, he's a rookie kind of thing. And I don't think we'll be seeing him in a Blackhawks sweater next year. That's not a bad thing. I think we might see him maybe a couple years down the road. I don't think it's right now, but I'm happy to see him get this experience. And maybe he's building for something here for the Blackhawks. And like you said, he might be a diamond in the rough. You don't know. But either way, it's good to see, because I don't think we thought he would be in that position. We thought it might have been Delia, but Colin Delia ended the season with the Blackhawks. So that wasn't really an option. So I'm happy to see that. That's always encouraging to see for the goalie depth for sure. So the second thing about the IceHogs is that they decided to not have defenseman Alex Vlasic play in the playoffs, as they want him to have a healthy offseason of training. Do you think that was the right decision instead of just letting him get the experience with the IceHogs?
It kind of surprised me. I really thought that they would get him down there and get him involved. But I guess that the thought process probably was that there's just a number of defensemen that are there, that are ready, that are gel, that have already kind of paid their dues to be involved. And so, it's probably, I'm sure, pretty hard to ease somebody in, especially when it's playoffs. So maybe that's why they decided just to, let's leave Vlasic out of it for this push.
Were they talking like between the lines there, like, oh, everyone's kind of established in Rockford already, so maybe there's not enough room for you, so we'll just say we want a healthy off season of training, maybe trying to say it nicely. Although, like I said, I'm kind of upset about that, because I thought maybe playoff experience would help, just extra playing time in general in Rockford. I thought would maybe benefit him. Regula's back there. But they are really high in him. I think a lot of us have high expectations for him too, are excited about his development. So hopefully he does have a healthy offseason of training, because it looks like the Hawks are going to want to use him a lot next year. He ended the season strong, so we'll see how that goes. But like I said, maybe they were speaking in Morse code there at the end of the season about his Rockford tenure, but we'll see.
It certainly will, though. I mean, that's so something to watch during this offseason and during training camp. And as we get into the, next season, who are they? We know that there's probably going to be 1 or 2 defensemen that, were in Rockford last season or only had limited time this past season that are going to step up, and they're going to expect them to be, regular players. So who will it be?
Do you know what? It seems like they signed 20 defensemen again. So now we're back in which defensemen are we getting now? All of a sudden, yeah, there's a lot of questions here, but it is exciting. Nerve-wracking, but exciting. I agree with that. Okay, so we are halfway through the show. So you are watching Blackhawks Banter presented by the Hockey Writers. It's episode 77. I am Brooke. This is my co-host Gail. We are talking all things Blackhawks off season, but before we get back into the show, this episode is provided by the Hockey Writers Sports Betting Guide, a brand new source for your daily sports betting odds, lines, props, and futures, as well as some daily fantasy strategies and analysis. So make sure to follow THW Bets on Twitter and Facebook to get you the latest on everything sports betting. If you're into that, I personally am not good at it, but a lot of people are into it. And we also promote responsible betting. Please be responsible. Have fun, be responsible, be safe. That's what we're all about here at the Hockey Writers. Okay, I'll also be sure to follow us on Twitter again if you missed that in the beginning, because that's where we're the most active and you can catch us. You can talk to us on there. Okay, so getting right back into the episode because we still got things to talk about. Yeah. I was actually worried. I was like, oh, it's off season. We're not going to have anything to talk about. And here we are. We're like, oh, woohoo, we got a lot to talk about still. Okay, so we have to talk about the World Championships. You guys would have laughed because in our outline, I put the World Juniors. It's the World Juniors. Sorry, I meant the World Championships. My bad. But the Blackhawks announced that 3 Blackhawks players are headed to the World Championships to represent Team USA, which would be Seth Jones, Caleb Jones, and Sam Lafferty. Now, what's interesting about this is that this is the first time that Sam Lafferty will represent the USA in any fashion in his career, which is exciting for him. So I know there will probably be other Blackhawks players on other different countries here, but that's just for Team USA. We're just going to focus on them for now. So I guess I just want to ask, how much better did Team USA get with these Blackhawk additions, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's actually really interesting that Seth Jones is wanting to go. I want to say it's his 3rd time in the World Championship. So, I said it last week. I gave him a shout out to say that I think that he had a great season and he really is that number 1 defenseman. He does a lot of things really, really well. So I think that he's definitely going to be an asset for them. I would love to see them try Seth and Caleb on the same pairing. I know they did that a few times this season, but it didn't really take off. But who knows? Maybe it will for this situation. So that's cool. And yeah, good for Sam, good for Caleb. It should be fun. And just a little note here. Some other former Blackhawks that are on the roster are Adam Gaudette. Remember, he was on our team for a while, Blackhawks. And then John Hayden. So that's kind of cool. It should be a fun tournament.
Yeah, it should be. Like you said, I was surprised about Jones too, just because he carries such a huge workload. But I think there might be a thing with Caleb Jones there. I think maybe they were told they might play together, which I think is probably a dream for them too, which is exciting. And obviously with Lafferty, they got a lot more competitive, I think. But when I looked at Team USA's roster, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of names I have no clue besides the players they have Alex Nedeljkovic in goal. But other than that, do you know what? It's always the players that you don't know or don't really recognize that end up being really good, the ones that fly under the radar. So maybe that's key here. I know Team Canada has a lot of big names like Barzal and stuff, but like I said, it's the players that fly under the radar usually that,
Yeah, I haven't really seen any of the other rosters. It hasn't been on my radar. So I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to really compare yet. Yeah. Canada always has a strong.
It does. But like I said, I forgot where USA placed last year. I know they got bronze at one point. And unfortunately, Kane won't be there this year as I think he's still nursing that injury. And Alex DeBrincat's having a baby, which is really exciting. That's why he's not there. But I still think Team USA will be fun to watch. They'll have some edge, I think, for sure, which is always fun to watch in hockey. Okay, so now we're on to the shootout round. This is how we end our show every episode. And for this shootout round 1, we're going to give an update on the playoffs as of right now. This is Monday, so tonight there will be more games. So the series, by the time you guys see it, will have shifted. But for right now, this is what it looks like. Boston and Carolina are tied 2-2. Minnesota and St. Louis are tied 2-2. Dallas is leading Calgary 2-1. Washington is leading Florida 2-1. The Oilers and LA are tied 2-2. Tampa Bay and Toronto are tied 2-2. Most of these are ties at this point. And the Pens are leading the Rangers 2-1. And the Avs are leading Nashville 3-0. This, for my bracket, I'm going to need Nashville to win at least 1 because I said that Colorado would win in 5. So I'm going to need the Nashville to pull 1 out, even though I don't like them that much. But these are some interesting. I don't think Dallas I don't think anyone expected Dallas to be leading Calgary at this point, or the Penguins, or anything. So that's exciting. These have been a really interesting playoff so far, I think, from a viewer standpoint. So this is all a shootout round of playoff questions. So one, we're going to talk about the IceHogs and the Wolves because they will be opening their playoff series on Thursday, this Thursday. Rockford IceHogs and Chicago Wolves. So for game one, Gail, predict the final score.
Most of these games have been pretty high scoring affairs between these guys. So I'm going to say 5-3 IceHogs.
Oh, okay. And I was going to go 4-3 Rockford. Something about 4 sticks out to me with them. So we'll see. But yeah, I think high scoring for Rockford for sure. Second round of the shootout. Which former Blackhawk has impressed you the most in the playoffs so far? There's a lot to choose from.
I know this is so hard. But I think my favorite player, even though he hasn't even scored a goal yet, but Ryan Hartman of the Wild, I really like watching him and seeing him do well. He had a great regular season and, has that jam that's needed in the playoffs. So best of luck to the Wild. Again, that's also because I'm rooting for the Wild for, obvious reasons with Marc Gardner-Fleury and all that too. So.
And we need that first round pick. If they make it, if they make it to the final, I think we get
if they make it to the Western Conference Final, and if Marc Gardner-Fleury is part of 4 wins, which he already has 2. And by the way, it is a pleasure to watch him as well.
It is. We're getting closer, guys. We're getting closer to a first round pick. We're scratching and clawing for that. I'm gonna go with Teuvo Teravainen. I just love watching Teuvo play every year, and he's like Ryan Hartman. We talk about him a lot. We miss him. We're big fans of him. He's got 2 points in 4 games. He's a +3. He's doing his job so far, and like I said, he's fun to watch. And we miss all of our former Hawks so much, but we root for their success. That's what we do on the show. Okay.
Shout out to David Kampf, the guy that my God, can't score goals. 2 goals in the playoffs and a shorty. Good job. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing and scoring goals.
Oh my gosh. So for fans that don't, or for viewers that don't know this, Gail actually was pretty high on David Kampf last year defensively because he was a pretty good Marcus Kruger type of player. And she actually advocated for him to be re-signed. And we were all like, no, this guy can't score. He's good defensively, but can't score. Then he goes in the playoffs and now, so Gail, you were right. I guess we're all wrong and don't know what we're talking about. So that's good for David Kampf, though. I mean, come on. This is probably what he's been looking for, too. Scoring goals. Doing his thing, So what are we on? Sorry, round 3 of the shootout. Sorry about that. Which player in general have you enjoyed watching the most in the playoffs? Doesn't have to be a Blackhawk, former Blackhawk. Just in general, who have you liked watching?
Yeah, it's hard for me to just pinpoint one player in general. I think I'm going to just kind of go with a team here. I'm still pretty high on the Colorado Avalanche now. I don't know what the heck's going on with their goalie and whether or not that's going to be a problem moving on. But man, have they looked strong so far. I mean, they've all. Nathan McKinnon has 4 goals. Landis got 3 goals and 6 points. Makar, Mikko Rantanen. And it's all balanced, It's like it's not just 1 or 2 guys. They all do their job, and it's just really awesome to kind of see them. It's like art out there watching them.
Yeah, I think we all knew that they would be a juggernaut going into the playoffs, but usually sometimes that's a crapshoot because you can be one way in the regular season and then kind of crap the bed, but they have not done that. They have been pretty much consistent from their regular season, which is how you'd want them to be if they're gonna, or how you'd want to be if you're gonna win the cup. So I agree with that. They're fun to watch. It seems like at this point they're very unbeatable. Even the Predators, for as pesky as they are, having a tough time. So, and there's a lot of players I love on Colorado. I love Cale Makar. I love JT Compher. Like there's a lot of players that I like on that team. But so I agree with you there. For a team to watch, that's fun. I agree with that. But for a player, I'm going to go Ross Colton on Tampa Bay. There's something about this guy. You look at it's the weird season of players you don't expect to score but are going to score. And that Ross Colton's been on some kind of tear lately. I think he's got 3 goals in 4 games. Nice. And I think he's a 3rd or 4th line guy. So he was one of those weird diamond in the rough finds for Yzerman when he was the general manager. But for some reason, like I said, he's been on a roll, and it's kind of fun to watch. It's fun to watch players like that instead of the players you already expect to score already, like Kucherov or something like that. At least this is kind of different.
you need everybody to contribute if you're gonna go on that long run and raise that cup.
Oh yes, for sure. Oh, memories. Okay. Which brings me to the next round of the shootout. What do you miss most about Blackhawks playoff hockey?
That is a tough one because I miss a lot about Blackhawks playoff hockey, but I think the thing that stands out to my mind, especially from all three of the cups, is just the stellar, awesome defense that they had. I remember Duncan Keith and I'm sorry, Brent Seabrook. I was forgetting his first name for a minute. Nicholas Jomerson, and Johnny Oduya. My gosh, I mean, those guys were just really, really, really good at what they did, and that was just awesome. I miss it.
Oh, I miss defense too. Now we look at our defense and we're like, what the heck?
Yes.
What is this? Even if it's somewhat good defense, we're like, this is not our cup year defense. What is this? But if I'm going to be honest, what I miss most is playoff anxiety. Just like that, you're sitting there, like feeling like you're either going to have a heart attack, a stroke, like your heart's racing, you're sweating. Yeah, exactly. Your blood pressure is going. And like, I mean, you can watch teams and hope they'll win based on your bracket and stuff. But for the most part, I don't really care about any of these teams, to be honest with you. So it's not the same watching them because you're kind of like, yeah, someone scored. Okay, someone scored. But that's what invested. I miss.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I miss, like the investment and just like that whole playoff atmosphere. It's been way too long.
Yes.
That's why we're so excited about the IceHogs. Finally, we get playoff anxiety for one team.
I know.
Yeah, so okay. We'll take what we can get at this point. Okay. Final round of the shootout. Sorry, guys, we're dragging this on, but you know what? Let us. We're having a good time. Be honest. Would the Blackhawks stand a chance against any of the teams in the playoffs right now?
Hell no. Hell no. I mean, you see it. I mean, you just watch and you like see the discrepancy. They're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Watching this all year and this, they got a long way to go.
Oh my gosh. I thought that too. It's like we thought they played like one good game and we're like, oh, we're on the right track. And then you watch these teams and we're like, I don't know about this. It's a little bit different here. But do you know what? I actually think they might have a chance against the Oilers only because Mike Smith is a little shaky. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. It'd be tough really to beat any of these teams. It don't matter who it is. That's just the sad part of the rebuild, unfortunately. But
and you know, I feel really bad for you and your bracket, but gosh bless America, it would be really sweet to see Nashville get swept.
Well, yes, I agree with that. Anytime someone beats Nashville is a good day. But do you know what? I guess my bracket will still be okay because I put the Avalanche to win anyway. So
there you go.
So at least I'm right. I would be right in one sense. I think most fans had the Avalanche in that bracket anyways. Okay, sorry guys. Gonna keep talking about this. So that is the end of our show. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much, Gail, for talking with me again this week. Be sure to follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channels. We will have a lot more off-season content as it's sure to be a very busy off-season. We have a lot more to cover as the weeks go on. Thank you again so much for tuning in every week and tweeting with us. And we love talking the Blackhawks with you guys. I hope your brackets are doing well. And if your teams are in the playoffs, your favorite teams are in the playoffs, I'm jealous of you. But thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week.